Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make this luscious pistachio and cardamom tres leches. It is a sponge cake that is soaked in a cardamom and saffron milk bath and topped with a fluffy whipped cream frosting and crunchy pistachios. Let's get started because this recipe is just amazing. You're going to start by separating 4 eggs into whites and yolks. You can do it like this or with your hand, which I had to do here because I accidentally dropped it. Add your egg whites into a large bowl and your egg yolks into a smaller bowl. You want to make sure your eggs are at room temperature for the best results. Into your egg whites, add in some granulated sugar and some salt, and then we're going to beat this on high speed using an electric hand mixer or stand mixer until stiff peaks form. This process takes about 5 to 6 minutes. If you're using an electric mixer, you can do this by hand, but you are going to end up with really sore arms after that. The written recipe is available on my blog, thefoodflamingo.com. The link is available in the description box below. There you'll find a detailed recipe along with some tips and tricks to get the perfect tres leches. As you keep whipping the egg whites, they start to look so fluffy and just delicious like marshmallows. This here is a soft peak. This is not what we want. We are going to keep beating until we get stiff peaks. Stiff peaks is the peaks that will hold their shape when you pick them up like this, and if you flip the bowl over, it should stay in place. Now we're going to move on to the egg yolks. Into the egg yolks, we're going to add in the remaining granulated sugar, and then we're going to whisk this using a whisk, or you can continue to use your electric mixer until it turns pale and creamy. This only takes about 2 minutes. Once the mixture looks like this, we're going to add in some vegetable oil, some water, make sure to use room temperature water, and vanilla extract, as well as some ground cardamom, which I forgot to add while I was making this batch. You do not want to forget it, it's really important. Next, we're going to sift in the dry ingredients, which include all-purpose flour and baking powder. Give this a mix until it is fully incorporated. I'm just using a spatula to clean out the sides of the bowl, and now we're going to bring back the meringue and then add 1/3 of the meringue into the egg yolk mixture. Fold this to combine. You don't have to be super gentle at this point. You can be a little bit rough, but just make sure not to be too rough. Once that's fully incorporated, we're going to go ahead and pour the entire egg yolk mixture into the remaining meringue, which is in the larger bowl. Now we want to mix very, very gently until everything is fully incorporated. You do not want to lose all that air that we just beat into the egg whites because the cake really relies on that to be nice and fluffy. Transfer the batter into a greased and lined 8x8 square baking dish. I like to use a glass or ceramic dish because you can use it to serve it in as well. Spread that out, give it a few taps on the counter to remove any air bubbles, and then bake at 180 degrees Celsius for about 25 to 30 minutes. While the cake bakes and cools, we're going to prepare the milk bath and the whipped cream topping. For the milk bath, combine warm whole milk, some heavy cream, some condensed milk, some ground cardamom, and some saffron. Traditional tres leches is made using evaporated milk, but I found that it's actually quite difficult to find in many places, and also it's not something that everyone has at home, so I always use heavy cream instead. Of course, if you want, you could use evaporated milk instead. We're going to give this a mix and then set it aside and then move on to the whipped cream topping. In a medium-sized bowl, combine cold heavy whipping cream and 2 to 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, depending on how sweet you want your whipped cream to be. We're going to beat this on high speed until stiff peaks form. This takes about 7 to 8 minutes. You can do this using a stand mixer as well, or even a whisk, and again, you are going to have sore arms after that if you do this by hand. I'm also adding some more ground cardamom into the whipped cream. This is optional, but I highly recommend that you do it. All of our components are now ready. All we have to do now is assemble. For the cake, once it is baked and fully cooled, you're going to remove it from the pan, flip it around, put it back into the pan, and then remove the parchment paper from the bottom. Now using a skewer or toothpick, poke holes all over the cooled cake. Now pour all of the cardamom and saffron milk over the cake. It's going to look like it's way too much milk, but don't worry, the sponge cake is going to soak it all up in no time. You want to let this soak for at least 5 to 10 minutes before moving on to the next step. Here's a little time lapse of how the sponge cake just absorbs all of that delicious milk. Now what I'm going to do for the whipped cream frosting is spread on a very small amount all over the cake and then use the remaining to pipe. If you want, you could just spread on all of your whipped cream frosting using a spatula and then garnish with some pistachios, but I like to pipe it because it just looks so much nicer. So I'm using a large piping bag with a round tip, and I'm going to just pipe little blobs all over the top of the dish. You could also use a different piping tip for a different design, like a star tip. If you love Trileçes, then you have to check out my other Trileçes recipe. I have a Turkish version, a lemon version, and even a cinnamon roll version. I will leave the links to all of these in the description box below, so make sure you check them out. And also, please check out my website. There you're going to find all of the delicious recipes that I have to offer. Now we're going to generously sprinkle this with finely chopped pistachios, and then let this chill in the fridge for at least 2 hours before serving, and that is it. I just wanted to add here that I have something coming up for this Mother's Day, so make sure to keep a heads out for that. And here it is, the final product. This cake is just so good that I cannot describe it in words. The flavors pair so beautifully together. Pistachio, cardamom, saffron, everything is just perfect. The cake is soaked with that delicious milk, and the whipped cream is just so light and fluffy. It just brings everything together. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the Food Flamingo for more easy and delicious recipes just like this one. Like the video if you liked it, and comment down below if you tried the recipe or if there's anything else you'd like me to make. And as always, thank you so much for watching.